By the age of 14, Linda Blair, the one-time poster girl for Ivory Soap, was suddenly a huge movie star, known for scaring audiences out of their seats. Her role as possession victim Reagan McNeil in the smash film The Exorcist made Linda one of the most recognizable teenagers in the world.
I had never had the dreams, oh, I want to be an actress so that people know who I am. It was more than I was prepared for. To be splashed all over the covers of magazines and you're reading about yourself, you're like, I didn't do that.
But in Hollywood, the name of the game is exposure. So Warner Brothers threw a party to celebrate Linda's 15th birthday and invited the media.
Of course, I didn't know anybody there, but it was all of the main press and, of course, the cast, and it was a big event that they did.
The press had a million questions for the little girl who'd been so convincing in the role of a child possessed.
Has it done anything to your beliefs, your personal feelings inside?
I guess not really. No, I mean, I've changed a little bit, but I still go to church and all that stuff, but...
The overwhelming attention was new to Linda. She didn't know what to expect.
Then the nominations started coming through, and I had never been part of anything like that, and I didn't really understand everything with the nominations and filmmaking, and so everything was all new to me.
Linda's performance in The Exorcist earned her a Golden Globe, as well as a People's Choice Award.
For me, it was a very big moment in my life.
Even more impressively, despite the fact that it was her first starring role, Linda was nominated for an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress, but controversy about The Exorcist cast a cloud over her nomination.
I'm sure that all of this publicity that was generated by the film, and all of the prudes who jumped on board, and psychopaths and people like that who had access to print and television, and all of the people who played lesser, if not insignificant, roles in the film, came aboard and tried to take the credit.
In the end, another child actress, Tatum O'Neal, took home the statuette that year.
I felt Linda should have won an award. I think she deserved it. I think it was an amazing feat for a child to pull off what she did in that film.
She definitely deserved an Oscar for that, definitely. That's one of the great performances from anybody, ever.
After awards season, Linda's mother moved back to Connecticut. Her older sister Debbie took over as 15-year-old Linda's guardian in Hollywood. The two girls frequently set out to enjoy the nightlife.
We were looking through the newspaper, and I didn't see any place or anybody that I wanted to see. And she goes, well, who's that guy? It was Rick Springfield. And I'm like, oh, some guy.
Linda and her sister went to the world-famous Whiskey A Go-Go on the Sunset Strip, where Australian pop sensation Rick Springfield was playing a sold-out show.
Someone came up to me and said, Linda Blair's in the audience. Do you want to say hi to her? I said, oh, sure, yeah, I'd love to.
And this manager came up to me and said, would you like to meet Rick? And I said, no. And I'm sure he was shocked. And he asked again, and finally I realized I must be being rude, so I said, fine.
She came back, and I remember it was just, we just connected, you know. There was just, I didn't expect it. I'm sure she didn't expect it.
It was love at first sight. That's all it was. Sweet love, innocent.
At the time, Rick was 24, and Linda had just turned 15. The May-December romance raised some eyebrows.
I was pretty naive, and I think she was too. You know, there was certainly an age difference, but there was she was, you know, pretty worldly for her age, and I think neither of us expected any kind of big attention from it.
Linda and Rick saw each other as much as work allowed. Rick even spent a Christmas with Linda and her family in Connecticut. With a rock star to call her own, Linda turned her attention back to work. She signed with a big talent agency and accepted an offer to star in a controversial TV movie.
Born Innocent was about a girl who was being abused at home, and the mother, of course, turned a blind eye, and the daughter would keep running away. Therefore, finally, she was put into a girls' institution, and she went in innocent, and she came out hardened.
Linda was very hot at the time because she'd come off of The Exorcist, and we talked. I thought she'd be great for the film, and I was making the picture for NBC, and they were ecstatic about the idea of having Linda Blair making her television debut.
Born Innocent caught the attention of TV viewers with a graphic scene in which Linda was the victim of a sexual assault.
There was a lot of tough stuff in that movie, and she just went and did it.
It took people by storm, and it was the #1 film that year, and the Nielsen ratings, and it changed people's lives. I mean, to this day, people come up and talk to me about how Born Innocent changed their lives.
Born Innocent was a hit. So was the next TV movie she starred in, Sarah T., Portrait of a Teenage Alcoholic. But an unsettling pattern was emerging. Hollywood seemed determined to cast Linda as the eternally bedeviled victim.
I think after you stack a few of them up, and all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, there's a pattern here. And I think it was a bit frustrating for her.
I think if I had been allowed to do comedy, it would have made a great difference in my career at that age, but I wasn't. And so, yeah, I think I was definitely got into a point of being typecast.
Linda's next role didn't help matters. In Sweet Hostage, she played a teenager kidnapped by a mentally ill Vietnam vet. By now, her career niche as a victim was virtually set in stone. Even worse, her relationship with Rick Springfield was showing the strain of being played out in the spotlight.
The pressure somehow from the outside world and business, some egos, survival, people go through life, spiritual changes. There's so many different elements. It's difficult to keep a relationship together, but to do it in the eyes of the media as well is very hard.
Linda wanted Rick to be her co-star in Sweet Hostage. Instead, producers hired a charismatic actor named Martin Sheen, who cast a spell on youthful Linda.
He's magical, he's kind, he's funny. I was madly in love with him, and that's what shows on film.
By the time Sweet Hostage was over, so was Linda's relationship with Rick Springfield.
We were young, there was no way that it could last. I still think, I mean, Rick will always be one of the great loves of my life, but it was something that obviously was not meant to be.
Linda's relationship wasn't the only one coming to an end. By early 1977, the tensions that had simmered between Linda's parents since her career began finally became unbearable.
I knew at age 7 that they were talking about divorce. Maybe that was just words, but they're words that a child hears. When I was 18, they divorced, which I think was instrumental in helping make that happen. Enough was enough.
I'm sure it affected Linda because I think Linda was maybe more sensitive than any of them, even though she didn't see that much of me. She saw more of her mother continuously.
Linda was saddened by her parents' divorce. So when she got an offer to do a sequel to The Exorcist, it seemed to be coming at just the right time.
The Exorcist 2, which everybody had been speaking about for a long time, was presented to us. The script was wonderful. And Richard Burton was on board, James Earl Jones, John Borman, who had just won the Academy Award for Deliverance. And it was a win-win situation.
Linda was excited about the sequel, but director William Friedkin opted out, sensing it would never top the original.
No one could fault her for doing it. It had a very distinguished cast of people, but the story was a load of bollocks, you know, and it was beyond stupid, but you can't hold the actors responsible for that.
According to Linda, everything that could have gone wrong during the filming of Exorcist 2 did.
The movie was a disaster, and there are some people that enjoy it, and so that's great, but unfortunately it's one of those movies where too many cooks spoil the brew, and that's what happened.
As production continued, the pressure on Linda mounted. The movie was a mess. Linda says a musician she was seeing ran off with one of her closest friends. It was all too much for her to take. She needed something to dull the pain.
I was so troubled and so hurt. And I didn't know where to put the pain, and I'm supposed to be doing a professional job holding up this huge motion picture. For me to drink whatever I could find, vodka, quarter bottle, whatever, that I don't know, I can't remember. But it was enough for me to know that I could get to bed and that I would pass out. Get up, go to work.
Coming up, Linda tries to jumpstart her career with a racy photo spread.
I don't have the same hang-ups as other people have about nudity.
And later, she finds a cause to believe in.
She gets a huge reward out of seeing the progress that she's done with helping animals.
When Lifetime's intimate portrait of Linda Blair continues.